like we have should have the ESPN beginning, dun, 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 the music. Yeah.
That's a good idea. Well, welcome back to Residing in North Idaho. My name is Seth Horst. Kristen Horst, my lovely wife, is next to me. And with us today is Jaclyn Scotch from Evergreen Home Loans. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have this conversation. I'm excited to have most conversations, though, so I should preface it with that. But
all right.
Yeah. Anywho, thank you for joining us. So we brought Jackie on today because we wanted to talk about some lending stuff, and she's our local expert. But then this podcast is really about community as well. So we I was going to touch on some cool things that you do also.
Oh, awesome.
Shooting guns.
Oh,
and stuff.
yes.
Yeah. Let's dive right in. Tell us a little bit about how long have you been here? Did you grow up here?
I grew up here.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You're like one of the rare, you're like a unicorn around here. It's very rare to find someone that actually grew up here.
Well, in our last how do you say it?
Podcast?
Podcast who we interviewed. It was also a longtime resident.
You're right.
Yeah.
2 for 2.
For 2.
Unicorn.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
Yes. So I was born over here in Spokane, actually. So born and raised between Spokane, North Idaho. You kind of moved back and forth a little bit. Graduated in Spokane Valley. And then kind of moved between the two, trying to figure out where I would end up. And then I met my husband and moved over to North Idaho permanently in 2013. So
you're from the hood then, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Oh, yeah. Spokampton.
That's hilarious. So I noticed that I see these things on Facebook. You're into horses too.
Oh, yes.
Is that obviously you didn't have horses where you grew up, or did you?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I've had horses my whole life.
So you're not that hoodish then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's that weird person riding through the hood on my horse. But so my mom was actually a horse trainer. So we rescued horses my whole life and did a little bit of breeding here and there. And when I was in high school, I joined high school rodeo and did some of that. And then once I graduated, moved out of the rodeo scene and just kind of have done more trail riding and explorative type.
So we have a full-on cowgirl in our midst.
Yeah. Honored.
Yeah.
Honored. That's cool. Did you break any bones doing that?
I have not broken a bone.
This is wood. You can knock on it if you want. Yeah, there you go.
No broken bones.
Yeah.
I have crashed a lot, but yeah, very
Scary.
lucky. A lot of milk growing up.
And then you also do competitive shooting. How did you get into that?
Yes. So my husband started competitive shooting, I want to say in 2015 or so. And he started in 3 guns, so doing shotgun, AR, and pistol competitions. And he really enjoyed it. I was always incredibly intimidated by it. So I came to help and pick up shells and do all that fun stuff.
That's not fun. We had convicts do that for us where I used to shoot. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it was fun because I wasn't pushing myself out of my comfort zone, so I was safe. But after I think about 2 years of doing that, I finally was peer pressured into starting. And so he started USPSA, which is actually just pistol. It doesn't have any shotgun or AR. And so I decided to take the jump and did my first competition, and it was absolutely terrifying, but incredible at the same time. And
Cool.
So now we do that together. And so it's kind of our combined hobby that we can do together.
That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Jackie's husband is in law enforcement, and that's why we have this wonderful connection. I think that people in law enforcement tend to speak the same language and share the same values for the most part. So it creates good bonds. So that's how we got here.
Yeah.
Freaking cool. So what's your favorite thing about living here? What do you love about it?
I think it's the community.
Yeah.
I really think
that's going to be a common theme.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a common theme for sure.
Yeah. It's one of those things, being born and raised here, I have kind of a small circle, right? I've never experienced a whole lot. So my husband is actually from upstate New York.
Wait, have we talked about this? Did you know that's where I'm from?
No. I don't think we have.
Do you know what city he's from?
Rouse's Point.
Where the heck is that?
It is just north of
Buffalo.
No, it's way up in the corner next to
he's
Canada.
he's way up.
Yeah. tiny little village. I can't remember.
When you're calling it a village, I know it's small. So
I know, like,
It's like just a few.
all right, I got to talk to him about that because I grew up in upstate New York too.
Yes.
Not that upstate though.
Yeah, he's way up there by the Canadian
No
border.
kidding.
So yeah,
Interesting.
met a lot of like French Canadian type people when we were visiting. But so we've had a couple trips to New York, and then of course we got married down in Florida. So I've gotten to adventure on the East Coast a little bit
Oh, yeah.
and experience what other cultures are like per se. And just everybody here is so kind all the time. Like you look, you're walking down Sherman Avenue and you make contact with somebody and they smile.
Mhm.
And it's just the little things, even the people at the grocery store that we go to are so kind to my son who, he's not very quick when he does things and he wants to do them all himself. And they're laughing and smiling and kind. And when you go other places, they're kind of like, move it along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas
Well,
we're pretty slow here.
it is. It's a different way of living. And I remember the first month we moved here, we were going through the transfer station. Do you remember this?
That's the dump, people.
Yes, that's the dump. And so we were going through, we were leaving, and we drive up, and the teller's like, hello, Merry Christmas. Like, totally, like, I don't know. Like, it was so, we both were like, oh, like shocked a little bit, like, what? And they're like, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And like, just like totally out there. And we both, we drove away and we're like, that was awesome. Like, who are these people?
We love where we live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it just, years later, it continues on with everyone you meet. Like, we walk Tubbs Hill a lot, and every single person you walk by, hi, good morning. Like, it's crazy. It's very different.
It is. I think if you want to put your finger on the pulse of a community, you go to the DMV. And that's the indicator. And the people at the DMV here are super freaking nice.
Yep. I just
Still.
went there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just went there.
Like the job sucks no matter where you are, but if they're nice, you're like, okay, something's going on here. I don't know if maybe it's in the water. I don't know.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
So-
yeah.
Water.
Yeah. And I think some of it is just people are so happy to be here. The people that move here are so happy. Like they're like, all right, I found what I was looking for. And the people that are vacationing here are the same way. They're like, man, this place is awesome. They're just happy to be here. So generally in a good mood.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, I think there's a lot of gratitude.
Yeah.
For what we have and what we've built and, how beautiful it is. I mean, you're on vacation no matter where you are in town. There's lakes all over the place, and there's just wherever you go, there's beauty in some way. Yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Do you, as a person that grew up here, does it bug you like as things are changing? I mean, does that get to you at all?
I think there's a lot of positive things that come with growth, like the good food.
Yeah.
That's come up. That's been really amazing. I think the traffic is hard. When it used to take 10 or 15 minutes to get all the way from South and North Coeur d'Alene, now it's about 40.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are late a lot of the time. But, I think growth is inevitable when it's somewhere that's beautiful. And I think as long as, we all maintain that community piece, it'll be okay. But it's, I don't know. I think life is too short to begrudge things that are happening. And I think it's just, okay, how do we pivot to the next piece to make sure that we're all getting to enjoy that beauty?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super true because, I mean, you can't put the brakes on now, right? People know about North Idaho and they're coming.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can have a positive attitude and make good changes and
it's funny. I've had some nasty comments on our YouTube channel from local people that are like, stop telling people about North Idaho. I'm like, everybody knows, dude. Like, come on. Now it's about attracting the right people, right? That's the important thing because, we don't want the core values to change from this community. Like as it grows, I think that can still be maintained with the right people in place for sure. So,
I think it's, you have that income disparity. And I think that's the hardest piece
that
everybody's struggling with. But if we don't come together as a community to figure it out, then it's going to just constantly be a strife.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
that's probably a good segue into what you do.
Yeah.
Income disparity. Is that because you probably have programs for that?
Mm-hmm.
We had a meeting, was that last week? Yeah. you guys, your company put it on, and you guys had some really cool programs that I had not heard about and I did not know about. So maybe we can touch on some of that.
Yeah.
For those that are out there looking.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever you guys are ready.
Yeah, sure. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, what one should we start with?
I don't. What's like your the coolest one? You probably because you probably see them.
Well, I would guess that you would say the VA.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to touch on that just a little bit, and then we can go into some of the others.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. So one of my big specialties are VA loans. Every lender knows the guidelines to VA. So that being a specialty isn't a huge piece. But one of our group members said it really specifically last week. They said, everybody's going to know the guidelines. It's the people that know the exceptions to those guidelines that truly can change the way that things are done. So I am part of a veteran mortgage advisor group, and we meet on a weekly basis to go over what's changed with the VA loan, because they're changing things, putting out circulars like weekly, monthly, that change the way that the VA loan is done. So we're constantly meeting to make sure that we're not behind on any of those. But with the VA loan specifically, it used to be a very difficult program to do, and a lot of people are still set in that way. So they don't accept VA loans, or maybe they don't want to look at a VA loan. Or, for example, I had a meeting last week, and the gentleman's father had a VA loan that he did 30 years ago. And he was like, don't do a VA loan. They're absolutely terrible. And the VA is hard to work with, and da. So they were working on saving 20% down. And I was like, wait a minute here,
Right.
So really getting out and changing those views and talking about how amazing the VA loan really is, and all of the pieces and parts that are different from a regular loan. So a big part of my job is just going out and just kind of getting those brought to light so that more veterans can take advantage of that program, because they earned it. I mean,
Right.
You serve us. It's the easiest way we can say thank you is by giving them the opportunity to use that benefit that they've earned. And it's an incredible program. So that's my number one, piece that I work on typically.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. And then you've got some cool programs for, I can't remember what they're called. Like Cash Up.
Yes.
Did I take it right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we have some other programs that are out of the VA realm, just to make sure there's not getting any confusion.
Good call.
But right now in the market, and even starting back with 2020, there has been so much competition with cash. And so us as a lender, we're a retail lender. So we actually fund our loans, and we have ways to make programs that can make buyers more competitive. So we actually have a couple different programs, but two of the main ones, our Cash Up loan is essentially us allowing you guys to offer cash on a property, closing on the home in 10 days, and then taking care of the actual purchase afterwards. So you guys get taken care of, the buyers get taken care of, sellers are taken care of, and then, we work on doing the actual purchase after. So Evergreen actually buys the home with cash so that we can compete with cash offers that are being made out there right now, so that you don't lose out on your dream home, even though, you just need a loan with,
So so is this one for people who do not currently own a home?
Yeah. So not
Okay.
necessarily doesn't own a home, but they're not contingent on selling their current home.
Okay.
Yeah. So as long as you qualify with that home, as long as you got 10% down, we can make this program work to basically be a cash offer. And it's not similar to cash. It actually is cash. So it's not one of those where we can close, the loan in as fast as this many days or do anything like that. Is actual hard cash. So that'll take care of any doubts that, the loan's going to close or anything like that. So that's Cash Up. And then it's called Step Up. So if you do have a home that you're contingent on selling, essentially what we can do is we do a lot of research on the home that you own, and we talk about exactly what your plans are going to be as far as timeline listing that home. But essentially we get you qualified, and we do very similar with the Cash Up. You can go make a cash offer on the home that you want, close on that home in as little as 15 days on that one, but you can buy that home, go into title, move into that home, and then list and sell your home afterwards.
That takes so much pressure off. I feel like that one will become pretty popular.
Yeah.
I would think. Is that pretty new?
No, we've actually had it since 2020.
Oh.
So on the West Coast is where we've seen the most traction with it. It's won 63 offers in the last 3 months. So it's big over there. They've got great traction with it. So I think there's tons of experience with it. It's just really bringing it into the market over here and getting that kind of fear factor away from it. Just that idea of what does this actually look like and what's it going to cost? And it's a really neat program. And really the biggest thing to take away from it is when you make a cash offer, you can typically negotiate price. And so even though, there may be a few additional costs with that, interim loan period, the amount that you can save on the offer potentially by negotiating is huge.
Yeah. I think this is going to become pretty helpful here. I feel like next year is going to be bananas again in the real estate world. And being able to make a really competitive offer like that is like huge.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, definitely in a hot market, it would be beneficial, but I could see even in today's market where it's not quite so hot, it being beneficial just to not have to, like we were talking about our clients today who they don't want to have to go contingent on their home selling and then try to plan it all and get their home sold, and have it all work out at the same time.
It's super stressful.
Yeah.
So many things that can go wrong, like doing that scenario. So yeah, having being able to take that out of the equation, I think would be really powerful.
Yeah. And that's, so when Justin and we actually sold our house in Rathdrum and moved out to Athol, that's exactly what we did. So we kept our house in Rathdrum. We moved out to Athol after we purchased it, got all of our things out of the house so that it could be staged in a better way than if we were living there. And it made the whole process so much less stressful.
Well, right. And that's another piece to it. Like, we're thinking about selling our home next year. And it's like, we have 3 dogs, 2 kids, and I can clean the house perfect, but it's messy in 5 seconds. So and then getting everyone out, that's really helpful.
Yeah. Hey, you've got a showing in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Can you be
exactly.
out
the worst.
Oh, I got so stressed out because we tried to sell our house. Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah. And so we put it on the market for a while and we had multiple showings a week. And it took, at least a couple hours to get it cleaned every single time because you want it perfect, pristine.
Yes.
And by the time we took it off the market, I think I was so burnt out. I don't think I cleaned for a month.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I was embarrassed, but it was like, oh my God, I can't pick up another vacuum.
I need some TV and some bonbons.
Yeah, exactly. It was so stressful. So that would, when we do go next year, maybe we'll look into that program and do it that way because that would take, even if there's extra expense, it just takes the stress away.
That experience was good for me in a way because now I really appreciate when I show a house what the homeowner's going through.
Yes. And you make sure to
I almost want to hug
feedback.
them on, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, especially if it gets a house that's my people are maybe, they're not super committed to it. And you're like, oh gosh, we're going to go through all this and they're not going to buy this one. I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think selling is harder than buying.
Oh
yeah.
It is
totally
emotionally stressful and exhausting and
vulnerable.
Yep. Yeah. Because then you get all this feedback about your house and, maybe it's something you never noticed or you loved about your house and someone else is telling you it sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially the people who have cameras everywhere for the showings. I'm like, I don't hold back anymore. I used to be cautious, but I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have the normal conversation with my clients. And if they say whatever, if you want to listen, then that's on you. But I do picture them on the other end of the line, just sobbing.
Yeah, it's hard.
Sorry.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to hear.
No,
Yeah.
I wouldn't either. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No cameras.
It really is so stressful. And actually with those programs specifically, what they've come out with is the statistic is that even with that extra cost, people are saving up to 11%.
Oh, just because they can get it under asking
that's awesome.
or whatever.
Yeah. So you take away the stress, you save a little money, you get to close on your new home. It's just exciting and not have to deal with, the appraisal contingency. It's not there. You don't have to deal with, a lot of the things that can make it very stressful. And it's a guarantee for the sellers. So it's one of those offers that you just can't say no to.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, the stress itself would be enough for me, I think.
Yeah. But, I think about our clients who come in and they're like, okay, I have a contingency on my home. I haven't even put it up for sale yet. And I want to go and offer these people 100,000, 50,000 under asking. And Seth and I always look at each other like, what are you offering them? Like now they're taking a chance on your house. Like, how fast can you get it up for sale? And now they have to wait for your house to sell. And are you putting it up for a price that will sell? And, this whole time they have to take their home off the market.
Yes.
And wait to see what happens with you. And now you're offering them all this like under asking price. I know we always have such a hard time when our clients do this. We want to get them the best deal, but it's like, you're not in the position to get a good deal. So if you use that program, now your cash, you are in the position to go offer less than asking. And they can look at it and be like, yeah, it's cash. I can close quickly. I don't have to wait for anything. It's a sure deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even
let's do it.
Yeah. And even, the biggest thing is the seller motivators. If they don't want to get out that fast, if they're like, well, we'd love to close in 10 days, but we still have to move.
Right. We have to pack.
Do all this. If it works out perfectly, even especially for the cash up, and we can get a regular loan closed in that time, we'll do it and get it done. But at least they have that.
Yeah.
So we can step in and close it with cash. But it's like if the seller is like, I need 20 days, I need 30 days. Close,
so at that point, would you just do it a regular loan anyways?
And then we just flip it over and save them the money from doing anything shenanigans.
That's nice.
Yeah. So they're really not, they're not committed to the program. But if the seller is like, yes, close in 10 days, we'll do what it takes.
So the only difference that it would make for a buyer in this position is now, instead of just running maybe credit or whatever, now they're going through the whole underwriting process ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
So, and that just means giving all their like tax returns and
yes. So
all the other documents you may need.
Yeah. So with those, we suggest we require the Security Plus pre-approval because we want to make sure there's no questions whatsoever. So income, credit, asset documentation is all reviewed and done. So as borrowers, they are completely clear before they even go out and start, doing the process, which I typically will recommend anyways right now.
So how long does that take if they were like, you're like, I need this, and they got it to you within a day or two?
So if they're going to get it to me super, super quick, that's the biggest thing is their timeline. So if they've got it already and they submit it, we do get written verification of employments and things like that to verify all of the work history that's needed. So sometimes depending on the employer, that can be variable. But if it's pretty quick and everything's electronic, we can get that Security Plus pre-approval in a day or two.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not like an extra couple week process. It's quick.
Okay. Yeah. Because, the way most buyers tend to work is they would like to go look at houses and fall in love with the house before they even know what they can afford and what they're pre-approved for.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
It hurts.
It hurts. I know. So, but if you do that, then apparently if you're on your stuff, you can do that in a few days. Get pre-approved.
Yes. It's very quick. And it truly, that Security Plus pre-approval is also a guarantee to the seller because we as Evergreen say, hey, these guys are good to go and we're putting $5,000 on the line. So if it doesn't close, we'll pay the seller $5,000.
Oh, dang.
Wow.
So even just that is a huge asset. It doesn't cost anything to do, but it gives that seller, the actual, hey, this is going to close. I can go out and make an offer on the next house too, so there's so much riding on it. And I think that sometimes we forget about that piece that, sellers are looking at homes too and trying to get it all. So and I know you guys have seen me put multiple videos out about this, but do that first. Talk to the lender, get your pre-approval actually done beforehand, because then we can call listing agents and advocate on, the buyer's behalf. And even that helps.
Well, you just have so much more power as a buyer when you have all that done and you have a lender behind you saying, I can guarantee this is going to happen and we're not going to have any lending problems. I wish buyers would just do that. I don't know the hesitation and them, it's almost like they're not willing to commit until they find a house. They're like, let me get inspired by a house before I commit to
Well, I think
all
one of the things that I hear people say is they're worried about running the credit or something. It's going to ding their credit.
Yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Is that
because
like-
that's a huge thing. Like the resistance we hear is the main thing is the credit.
Right.
thing.
Yeah. And I hear that all the time too. They're like, I'm not quite ready for it,
Yeah.
for a hard pull yet. Which is actually really neat. I have the ability to do a soft credit pull. So you can go shopping with a soft credit pull. The soft credit pulls do not affect your credit.
So what's the difference?
So the difference is it only pulls one bureau.
Oh,
So I think it's Equifax. So we'll at least get 2 of the scores. That gives us a pretty good idea of where things are sitting, and it gives us all the liabilities. So we at least have an idea of where things are. And then they're not going to get hit with all of the trigger leads that are happening right now also.
Oh.
So once you have your hard credit pulled, because the industry is so competitive right now, people are buying those leads from the credit companies. So
Oh,
as
wow.
soon as there's a mortgage inquiry, the creditors give this list out to whoever is paying
that doesn't
for it.
seem like
And
they should be able to do that.
No. There's lots of legislation in place, but how quickly that moves.
Right.
And so typically I will do just a soft pull at first, especially if that's what's requested. And that at least gives us an idea, but it keeps their scores from, getting that inquiry hit. So that at least they can go shop if they're not quite ready to be in full committal mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it actually affect the credit score that much when you do a hard pull?
Not typically.
Yeah.
Just a couple points. It's not going to change
nothing.
things dramatically. And even if you do decide you don't want to work with one specific lender, you can have multiple mortgage companies pull your credit within a certain period because the credit bureaus know that you have the right to shop. So that's a fear that I've had to kind of talk through with clients. It's okay to have that. And I want to say it's about 30 days or so to do that.
Yeah. I think I'm thinking of one buyer who was saying, they don't want to do that because what if they don't find a home within 30 days or whatever? So then they don't want to have it pulled again. And I understand that stress and I sympathize as well, but it is so important to be ready when you find that house. So
Yeah.
it's like a toss up.
Yes. Because the worst thing that can happen is if you find the house, you fall in love, you go to the lender and you've got variable income or you've got overtime or you've got rental properties that are taking losses or something like that. And then, there's more verification that needs to happen before you can get pre-approved. And then the house goes off the market.
Exactly. Yep.
So there's a lot of risk playing that way.
Mm. What are some of the like pet peeves that you have, or like things that you see people, or like what are like the no? I know like when you're in contract, you're not supposed to go out and buy a car or something, like things like that. Do you see that, or what?
Yes.
You know what I'm getting at here? Yeah.
I try to send out a 10 commandments of things
Ooh,
not to do
that's a
while
good
you're
idea. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
while you're in the mortgage process. And they're not all hard no's. Like I have actually had people buy cars during the process, but it's in communication with the lender. So my last deal, he had to buy a car right in the middle of the process. And I'm like, perfect. Give me the estimated payment. Let's make sure you still qualify with
let's make
that.
sure it all still works.
And then it's okay.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is that there's really nothing you can hide from the lender. Before you go to closing and before your docs go out, there's a lot of reports that are run. And if there's any weird inquiries or if there's new late payments or anything like that, it can put your file to a stop. So the best thing to do is if you do have to do something during the process, talk to us. Let us know exactly what's going on so that we can get ahead of them. But biggest pet peeves definitely would be buying a car or bringing on some sort of new debt. Furniture stores like to do we won't, there's no payments for the next 3 months, so you don't have to worry about it, but it's still going to show up on your credit. So that is one of them. And then the other one is bringing in cash out of nowhere with no explanation.
Yes.
That show up on your bank statements and trying to kind of work through that piece. Even though it's not maybe being used for the transaction, maybe you had it in your safe and you were going to use it to buy furniture after the fact, we still have to address it. So,
and that's typically not really depending on how much I would assume, but that's not super hard to do, right? It's just like if you can legitimately say where this came from and why, it usually kind of is like, okay.
Yeah. As long as we can
but we need to
explain
know
it to the
why.
underwriter.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's just, let's make sure we ask mom and dad before we do things.
You're right.
So that we know it's going to be okay and we provide all explanations necessary. So there's no, is there, did they just go out and buy something for their friend and their friend is buying them back and they maybe have a liability out there for it? Or did they just go out and get a payday loan and they just deposited $5,000 or something like that? And now we have to account for another loan that's out there. So that's really the biggest thing. Is it's not necessarily the cash piece of it, but is there any liabilities that are attached to this cash? Yeah. Those are probably the biggest.
So many.
Just don't touch anything. Freeze.
Exactly. Just
30 days. Don't do it.
30 days. Yep. I know it's very tempting when you are excited to move into a home and you want some new furniture or something like that. But unless you have the cash and then still have enough cash to close the loan, don't do it.
Use the mattress money to buy that stuff and don't put it on paper.
Well, can we talk about interest rates for a minute? I'm afraid I was going to ask that question.
The elephant in the
don't
room.
ask me that question. Cut. We're done.
Right. I'm out of here.
I'm sure you check every day. Where are they at right now?
They're still in the sevens.
Like low sevens?
Yeah. I mean, it is so credit score dependent that it's hard to kind of
I see.
Everybody's getting, they're putting in more rules and things are changing as far as pricing goes. So rates still they're in the sevens. Sometimes you can find them in the sixes. Idaho Housing, which is one of the really amazing programs that Idaho does have to offer, has lower interest rates than what we have standard right now. So they're still in the low sixes.
Can you explain what Idaho Housing is? Because I don't even know.
Yes. Yeah. So each state has a housing authority and they're all structured differently. So Washington has one, Idaho has one, all 50 states have one. And Idaho is actually one of the best in the country. And they are incredibly flexible. They don't have crazy overlays or anything like that, but they're meant for people that make under a certain amount of money. So for this year, 2023, the income limit is $150,000. So if you make under $150,000, you can qualify for Idaho Housing. They have standard loans, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA. And then they also have, if you're even lower than 150, they have another income bracket that if you qualify under that, it's called a tax exempt program. And those interest rates are more of a specialty rate. So they're in the lower sixes right now, which is really, really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know, this is kind of a sort of random question. Yeah. If, would they include VA benefits in that income or no?
Yes. So the tax exempt program, it is strict because it is federal. It's all federal funding, and it's household income. So they're going to do your veterans benefits. Gotcha. They're going to do child support, alimony. So that one can be a little bit trickier, but it really is amazing. But
what is there like no down payment on that? Anything like that?
Yeah, what's the down? Is it dependent?
So this big specialty of Idaho Housing is that they are the ones that offer the down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. So I was with a bank previously a couple of years ago, and they only did down payment assistance at that time. But now they do down payment and closing cost assistance in two different forms. They either have a second mortgage with a monthly payment, or they have a forgivable grant. And the forgivable has an interest rate add on your first mortgage. So it's you kind of have to look at the two and decide which is truly going to be the best for your situation and your scenario and how long you're going to live in a home. But that's ideally what Idaho Housing is really used for, is that down payment assistance program. And it's great for first-time homebuyers because they offer counseling at any time throughout the loan. They service it, so it stays within Idaho, which is also really nice. Mm-hmm. And then, you can just get really amazing rates that can help with a lot of that income disparity that we talked about.
Yeah, that's huge. I can think of actually one person I want to tell about that now that you told me all of that. Yeah. That's a big deal for some people that just can't get into the market because they can't save up enough money or whatever. And they're just renting and throwing their money to rent every month.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard, going from renting to owning a home is tough because you look at that mortgage difference and that rent difference and you go, okay, well, if my rent is cheaper than my mortgage, why would I go buy a home?
Right.
It's all about the long-term benefit.
Yep.
It's not necessarily
you're
going to be a
building
short-term
equity.
relief.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're building it up. You're paying that mortgage down and then hopefully going up in value and building your wealth basically.
Yeah. And when you live in such a beautiful area like here, I mean, we're just going to start, those values will continue to hold because it is such a desirable area. So again, as much as people hate people moving here, at least it's desirable and they know that that's, their housing is secure.
Yeah.
Right. That's something that we always talk about because everyone, says the market's going to just absolutely collapse. And we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. But out of all of the places, I would imagine Idaho is probably going to hold its ground better than some other places because of that, because there's so many people that are trying to come here and make their way here. And it is so desirable. So out of other states, and there, like I said, are a lot of other states that are in the same position. But Idaho seems like, we're holding on to value pretty well and pretty good. So yeah, it is still a good investment to buy a home.
Well, and even if you look at the homes that, values did drop after 2008, but if you look at the way they recovered, it's a long-term trajectory increasing over time, no matter what.
Right. Well, real estate's always going to have those, peaks and valleys. And, we did course correct a little bit last year as well, which is good because, it increased at such a fast rate from 2020, I would say, for 2 years, I would say. It just like skyrocketed up. So it was like kind of an artificial bubble. Like it wasn't sustainable as we're talking about like with the income around here and whatnot. So for it to come down a little bit, it is good. And that's a good thing, but it's not going to come caving down either.
Yeah.
So
exactly. We just don't have enough supply
for
that to happen.
Yeah. Can I just take a moment and say that I'm really thankful to have lenders in my life because I don't understand most of this. And thankfully I can be like, hey, you know what? I know somebody who does.
Yes. We're always, why don't you call Jackie?
Yeah.
Call a lender and talk to them. Yeah. We are not the expert because we get the call first always, pretty much.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's not our specialty, but we know someone who knows
I can
that
connect
information.
You. And vice versa. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in your guys' shoes. I'm not an expert negotiator. I can do numbers all day long, but negotiating and doing all
numbers
that.
don't have emotions, right?
Oh my gosh.
So much easier. Yeah, the emotion side is the challenge. That's why it's like nice to have our balance because she's somewhat, believe it or not, we have a very weird roles in our household. She's rather robotic in her emotions most of the time, unless it's a Hallmark commercial on TV that she's crying like a baby. But
I was, like you tell me a sad story or something, I'll cry. Take me to a wedding, I'll cry. But for home front,
it works out well. Put me at a car crash with multiple dead bodies, and I'm totally fine. But so the roles reverse. Not that that's really useful in this field, but
well, it's one of the. I think it's a learned strength trait from what you previously did.
Yeah. But when clients get emotional or something hits the fan in our deal, it's nice to have each other because if I'm like, what the heck? Then he can pull me down. And when he's like, I'm like, calm down.
Yeah, we got this. It's going to be fun.
How dare you? I don't ever do that. behind closed doors. Well, this podcast is going to be good because it'll show everybody that you're way smarter than me. So that's good. I feel like I've been sitting over here just sipping on my coffee. Like,
I don't know.
I'm excited. She's in front of the camera.
I'm outgunned in this. This is good.
How many funny faces did I make today?
I'm not rewatching it.
Well, don't watch it. You just like send it out to the world and let everybody see. This has
imagine awesomeness.
Yeah. It's really good information. Like this has been like super good information. I always learn a lot talking to you, and then I know people will enjoy hearing it because, all these good programs out there like there is a way to get into a home no matter your position in life.
And you don't know what you don't know, you know,
Mhm.
so it's good to educate yourself, and hopefully our podcast can help people get educated in certain real estate subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the minute you go down a Google rabbit hole,
Yeah.
you'll probably
Yeah.
be further away from buying a home. So it's best just to reach out
Yeah,
to
I
your local
love-
experts first.
Yeah, I love Googling something and then being like, oh, no, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, it's like, well, hey, you know, why don't
Yeah.
we like actually have a conversation with somebody and really find out?
When I first got into mortgage, I remember I was, you know, we have acronyms for acronyms, and it's just, you know, on top of each other. And I'm like, okay, I really need to, there's investors and lenders and all these different pieces. And so I remember I knew I was in trouble when I Googled an acronym and the definition was another acronym.
Oh, gosh.
And I was
Damn.
like, oh my gosh.
Getting deep.
And I came from retail lending. So I was like, oh, mortgage will be a piece of cake. Not quite, but that was my first key. I was like, oh boy.
So did I ever tell you that I got my license, my lending license?
Yes.
Yeah.
You told
Well,
me briefly.
yeah. Well, you know, I studied, passed the test and whatnot. And then I started kind of looking into it, and I was like, yeah, no.
Nobody said
No.
there'd be math.
Yeah, this is really complicated. There's so many, like you said, like different things to look into for each product and each loan, and like knowing it all. And
Yes.
people constantly calling and be like, well, what if I do this? And I was like, I don't know. I can't learn another thing. Like my head is all in real estate. Like I just can't go to the side of it.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
and now with rates the way that they are, it's making you have to get even more, you know, creative on trying to figure out how to make things
Right. And you have to
work.
know your product. Like you
Mhm.
have to know what's out there and the loopholes and all the different things. And it just, for me, I was like, I'm not in a position or in a place where I want to just dive all into a new career. You know, I thought it would be like, okay, I'll still do real estate and then we'll have this on the side. Yeah, no. It's like a real estate agent. Like you have to be a full-time real estate agent to make it work. There's so much to learn, so much to do every day. We're not just showing houses, you know, so there's so much on the back end to be doing, and being a lender, you know, is the same thing. Like you have to be in it and know what you're doing to serve your clients well.
Yes, because things are changing constantly.
Yeah.
That was such a professional response. I was thinking that mostly I just go out to lunch and coffee and hang out.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
That's
She's
why you
doing all
have
the hard
me.
stuff, and you're getting taken out to lunch. Jeez.
Well, and now as professionals, whether it's your line of work or ours, it's not even just doing the job anymore. Now you have to promote yourself, and that on social media, and find a way, you know, to get out there and be seen and be heard. And we don't really do a whole lot of social media. We do our YouTube channel, but to keep up with it all, it's like, okay, so we put our video out on our YouTube, but now do we have to create reels to put on Instagram and on Facebook and on now X? You know what I mean? Like, how can we do it all? Like, how can we fit it all into a day? I don't
Full-time
know.
job.
Yeah. And that's not even doing the job.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole, it's so interesting because you've got different personality types, right? In
Mhm.
multiple lines of work. And so myself, I'm incredibly introverted.
Yeah,
So
me too.
trying to, do social media and promote yourself and do those things
Right.
is really hard. But you also know if you're not out there, then somebody else is potentially taking,
Mhm.
advantage
Right.
of somebody because they're a
Oh,
great
I know.
salesperson,
Right.
but maybe they don't know the acronyms behind the acronyms.
Right.
And, so I'm like, okay, I know I need to be out there because I need to make sure I'm
'Cause you can
taking care
serve
of my
them.
people.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we in the community, I mean, we're all working with each other and making sure that we know multiple different people and programs. There isn't one lender that has everything. So you've got to know who has what and who is going to take care of their client in the best way. And same with real estate agents. You want to make sure, who's dedicated, who's all in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very important.
That is really important. I think sometimes that lacks in our fields, but I guess we don't worry about those people. We worry about ourselves, and having good values and
Mhm.
take service to others is huge.
Well, it is hard because, in any field, there are good people at their job and people that are maybe not so good or don't care as much or whatever. And to be people who do care, like the three of us do, and we're there to serve our clients, to see someone who is not going to serve that person or take advantage of that person. I mean, we pride ourselves on honesty, and this is something that we do a lot in our talking to our clients and the people we talk to, we've lost clients because we're honest. They don't want to hear that, right? They want to hear a different number or a different whatever. And it's like, look, here are the facts. Like, this is what it is. And we've lost people, and they've gone to agents who will inflate that number so they can take that person from us or whatnot. And it just,
See ya.
yeah,
It hurts, though.
Sucks.
It
It
does.
hurts. Especially when you care about that person, because it doesn't mean that person is that you were working with, you don't like, or you don't care about, or they're not good people, but they just, they want more money or dollar signs, and in the end, they're not going to get that. But so you hate to see them to go to someone else who's not serving them honestly and to the best of their ability. So it's hard.
Yeah.
That was a really good, subtle sales pitch.
She's
I know.
It's just hard, and you see it too, to be in the profession and be like, I can help you. Like, I actually care.
Yes.
And to know there are people that aren't, and they get that person or whatever,
Yeah.
So,
well, and even just during the journey, I mean, it's the buyers, the sellers, the real estate agents. There's so many people that are involved in one transaction. I can't be the person that's like, oh, here's a pre-approval and we'll figure out everything else out later.
mm-hmm.
Because I know if we can't figure it out later, that's going to be a really rough ride.
Yes.
And
Well, you
that's
don't
just
want
not
that
me.
reputation.
No.
Right. So you'd rather lose it in the beginning versus the end. And, to me, and that's us too. It's like, I would rather lose it in the beginning when I say what I feel like the house is actually worth, than tell you, 50,000 or 100,000 more, and then not be able to sell it, and then reduce. And in the end, you're losing more money because, we lied to you in the beginning.
Right.
We told you what you wanted to hear. Just to get the deal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we will never do that. And I know you won't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's a good long term. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is serve our community. And I think as long as you continually believe that and strive to do that every single day, that's who the community is going to, know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you took care of them.
Yeah. And you'll attract the right clients. Like, that trust goes both ways. I want to be able to trust them as much as they should be able to trust me. That's huge. That's kind of why I like working with cops. Not that we only work with cops, but I do. It's just like there's an immediate bond.
Right.
Sometimes firefighters too, whatever. But
hose trackers.
I love you all. Yeah, but that's huge. That immediate trust that goes both ways. I'm like, this is good. Like, these are the people I want to work with for sure.
Yeah. And you can feel that, when you're going through the transaction, when you've got a real estate agent or both, both sides are willing to collaborate with the lender and everybody's in communication.
Yes, that's ideal.
Oh my gosh.
That's ideal. That's how
like
it's
a
supposed
unicorn.
to be. Yeah, that is. We've had one recently where that us and another agent were having a hard time. Like, it's like we have to come together.
We were going to go behind Home Depot and scrap, me and him, but just kidding.
Scheduled.
Luckily, Seth, it does, keeps things on the
de-escalation, man.
De-escalation, yeah. But, the whole point is we have to work together, and we want everyone to be happy in a deal, right? Mm-hmm. We don't want the seller to feel like they got taken advantage, or the buyer to feel like they got stomped on, right? Everybody, yes, we're working for each party, and, and we can bring the claws out and go crazy, but like, that's not ideal, and that's not like good for everyone.
Yeah.
So we need everyone to work together.
It's so much better. Yeah. When you can call that other agent and be like, hey, here's the problem. Like, what are we going to do? We get our heads together and solve the problem, and that works for both sides. Like,
where everyone's
boom,
happy.
That's the way it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want anyone closing a deal and, cursing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. It's important.
It's quite a ride.
Yeah. Well, we're creeping up on an hour, so I guess maybe we'll call it and be respectful of your time. Yeah. Hey, where can people find you to watch your awesome videos that you make almost every day? Every day?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to do every day. So I've got my Facebook and my Instagram that are both personal. So just Jaclyn Scotch. You can find me pretty easily. I am working on a YouTube video. It's not great, so don't go there yet. But hopefully more on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sweet.
absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
We'll put your information in the description as well, so they can find you there.
And you can always give us a call and we'll connect you with her. That's easy too.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Jackie. It's been super fun.
Yeah.
Always a
thank
pleasure to
so
talk to you.
much. Yeah.
You have
this is
tons
awesome.
of great information. So love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.